vitamins, sunblock, last minute, and everyday needs. To refill and transfer your prescriptions, simply WhatsApp 329-7313 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or drop by Monday to Saturday from 9 till 6.
With Logic, you get more things you do want, like faster fiber internet, more TV, entertainment, and better customer service. And you get less of the things you don't want, like waiting, boredom, and disappointment. More of the good, less of the bad. It just makes sense. Or should I say, it's logical. See what I did there? Call us or go to logic.ky to find out how you could be getting way more of what's good.
Mobile. Do you want to be a star? Cayman's #1 community station, Bobo 89.1 FM, can help. Bobo 89.1 FM is your voice. If you want a platform to create your own radio show, Bobo is the station for you. We provide the time, support, coaching, and the radio station to make yourself heard. Is it a talk show, music show, self-help, a show for kids, faith, advice, politics, or news? It's your show. It's your voice. Get in contact with Chuck Taylor at ctaylor@dmsbroadcasting.ky or call 745-3375 to schedule an appointment today. And let your voice be heard on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's community station.
The Family Resource Center invite you to join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting, where we share practical and positive parenting information to support happy, healthy family life. We'll share how to handle day-to-day issues. We'll address common challenges with parenting, such as how to manage misbehavior, supporting our teens through growing up, managing co-parenting dynamics, and how to take care of ourselves and manage our own stressors. Family Resource Center, committed to building people, building families. Tune in Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. Find us at frc.gov.ky or call us on 949-0006. Submit your questions and concerns regarding parenting to us, and we'll share them on air. Join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting. All right, welcome Cayman, welcome parents. I am guessing that the kiddos are in bed and asleep. Welcome to Rethink Parenting. You're joining the Family Resource Center team. Specifically, myself, Anne-Marie Diaz. I'm the program coordinator at the Family Resource Center, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Miss Miles Ruby. She's a senior parent facilitator at Family Resource Center, and we're here tonight to talk about positive parenting strategies, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I always say, too, about you, Miles, is that you are a walking parenting encyclopedia.
Well, thank you. I would have to say after parenting for almost 29 years, I think I know quite a bit, but I still don't know it all. Right. I'm still learning, and as I tell all my parents that I coach, that it's never too late to be a better parent. And, that goes for anyone, regardless of where you are in your journey as a parent. And so when I do speak about positive discipline, a lot of my parents ask, well, what is that? Mm-hmm. And it's basically, it's not harsh or coercive, but it's not also being too lax. It's basically a philosophy. It's a perception of how you view parenting, in the sense where we're using more positive techniques like praise and positive reinforcement and connection, connecting with our child, so that that will be the foundation. That relationship with our child is the foundation of discipline, of parenting. Because ideally we want our kids to grow up and make good choices, have good morals and values, be contributing members to society. And, it takes more than just having a good education. Parenting starts, in the womb, really. And so I feel that as far as positive discipline goes, we must also consider, our children's emotional intelligence, not just their IQ, but their EQ, and, use that connection and that bond that we have with our children to guide them in that journey. It's not about, the parent being over the child, and controlling the child. It's more about guiding and being a coach to that child, much like in any kind of sporting. The coach won't go out there and play the game for the children. What a parent does is kind of coach and guide the child to make the right decisions, to have that moral internal compass, and to do the right thing when no one's watching, when they're not around their parents. It's we want our kids to be cooperative. We don't want them so much to be obedient. Cooperation and compliance are important. It's important to set limits and that our kids understand that there are limits in the world. There are boundaries, and we have, there's speed limits. We have to obey those, and there's consequences if we break the rules, and that's life. And so, just preparing our children, in the best way possible and not damage that bond between parent and child, and to nurture that, and through all the stages of development, as they age. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you just put positive parenting, positive discipline into a nice little bow just there. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about a little bit about what you just said there about we want our children to cooperate, we want our children to listen, right? And I think that's a very common question or statement I get from parents, right? Is like, you don't understand, my child just doesn't listen.
Right.
They don't listen. So, and of course that's what parents want. They want... That's a big. Well, of course.
As a parent, I have 3 daughters. They're all adults now, but it's very frustrating when you feel like you've told them 100 times to do something and they still haven't done it. Right. Now, there might be a lot of different reasons why that is. It could be they didn't hear you,
right?
Or that the message wasn't clear,
right?
Or they forgot. They're human. And children live in their own world. Children learn through play. And it's important that we use transition warnings and really get their attention and make sure they heard us. But especially if our children have any, neurodivergent disorders like ADHD or audio processing disorders or anything like that, it's going to be a little more challenging. They need a little different type of parenting, a little bit more patience, a little more reminders, and it's a little different, but overall, regardless if they have ADHD or not, all the research shows that praising positive behavior is much more effective than consequencing negative behavior. I think, positive parenting is not about power and control. It's not about using fear to instill compliance. It's about the child wanting to do the right thing. I believe, like what Dr. Ross Green says, that children want to please us. They want to do well. And if they're not doing well, if it's because they can't, something's getting in their way, or there's a skill they need to be taught,
right? Or
there's a need that's not being met. There's something that we need to help them with. They just don't have the tools or the language to share with us what's going on. Maybe we're expecting too much for them, and they break down, and they have a tantrum. But with positive discipline, especially when we teach it in our workshop, we go through the process of, understanding that we tend to parent the way we were parented unless we learn something different. And I always say, you can never have too many tools, parenting tools, in your parenting toolbox or tool belt. It's like if all you have in there is a hammer, you're going to approach every problem like it's a nail. And we know there's a lot of different problems out there with parenting. And as our children age and develop, there are different problems. Right. Just when you think you got it figured out, there's another problem, So you're always fine-tuning, and you're always, mindful of what's age appropriate. And we bring that into positive discipline as well. And, what to expect developmentally for them. Because if our expectations are too high or too low, either we're going to be disappointed and angry. When our expectations aren't met, we tend to get upset. And we usually get upset with our children when they don't meet our expectations. So we want to first make sure that those expectations are realistic.
Right.
and not too high or low. We don't want our children to underperform, but we don't want them to expect perfection, because there's no such thing as a perfect parent or a perfect child. We're all going to make mistakes. And as parents, we're going to model that, you know?
So let's think about that, like in the practical sense. I'm in the home now, and this is something I have to challenge myself with, honestly. I'm in the kitchen, and I want my son to come to dinner, come to the dinner table. You know, and sometimes I catch myself yelling to my child who's in the living room. He's probably, you know, on his iPad or something, and I'm still in the kitchen yelling to him. What's wrong about that situation? Can I really expect my little guy to hear me and to follow through on what I'm saying? Or am I getting it wrong? What should I do there?
Well, I think our intentions are always good. You know, we're busy, we're multitasking, we're cooking dinner, we're trying to, you know, do 2 or 3 things at once. But we have to remember that we are the adult.
Right.
And this is the hard part of parenting. We have to do the harder work. We can't expect our child to do that. So, first of all, we can't parent from another room or from the couch. We need to go to the child. And before dinner's ready, we also need to give them what we call a transition warning.
Okay.
And what that looks like is, hey, in 10 minutes, you'll need to turn off the game and come to dinner. And then what I like to do, because what do most kids say? Okay.
Right.
And you walk away. Now, I don't know how many times I've done that when someone's come in my office and told me something or asked me something. I'm like, okay, and they walk away.
I have no idea.
None.
What they just said.
You know, and, you know, kids are people too.
Right.
I mean, we adults do it. So what I always do or recommend is to ask, you know, them to repeat it for clarification. You know, okay, so what did I say? And sometimes they'll get it right. Sometimes they won't. They might get half of it right, but don't get angry.
Right.
Just repeat the direction. And again, it needs to be a command, not a suggestion. We don't want to put it in a question form. We want it to be assertive. We want it to be, you know, short and simple. So turn off the TV and come to dinner. So you want to let them know what you expect.
Right.
You don't want to assume that they know.
Right.
So kids, as I said before, learn through play, and they're in their own little world. So we kind of have to go into that world, interrupt them for a moment, get their attention, some kind of attention grabber, you know, touch them on the shoulder, have them look at you. Hey, pause the game. I need you to look at me.
Right.
And you know, call their name, but, you know, not from the kitchen. Go to them. And once they repeated it, then you say, okay, thank you. And then when that time is up, you go back to them, not yell from the kitchen.
Okay.
And say, hey, the 10 minutes is up, or 5 minutes. Some kids need a couple of transition warnings to kind of shift gears, because we know children have a harder time shifting from one activity or mindset from another. So we need to give them that warning so they can transition a little bit better, because sometimes that's when we see meltdowns.
Right.
And then you just repeat the direction and make sure they heard you again. You know, still do the attention grabber and make sure that they understood it. And sometimes kids will say, I heard you. Why do I have to repeat it? And so what you can do is just turn it back on you, like, well, I want to make sure I'm clear. Don't make it about them, even if you think they weren't listening.
Right.
You know, you don't want to say something, well, because I don't think you were listening, because those are fighting words. We want to use thinking words. And so we want to say, well, I want to make sure I was clear and make it about you. And that usually helps them not to be so defensive, because some kids can be a little more feisty than others, you know.
Okay.
Especially if they don't want to end their game and they want to level up on that, you know,
Very
video
true.
game. So, and sometimes they don't, you know, they may not be hungry, or they don't like what you're cooking, so they don't want to stop what they're doing. And that's
they're gonna be
understandable.
resistant,
Of
right?
course. And we can't expect them not to be.
Right.
You know, I mean, there are times when I don't want to stop what I'm doing to go do something I don't want to do. You know, I'm much rather keep reading my book than have to put it down and, you know, go answer the door, let's say. I'm just throwing something out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's so
one of the biggest things I guess we can do, or the biggest gifts we can sometimes give ourselves as parents, is to maybe challenge some of those high expectations we have of ourselves.
Exactly.
And of our kiddo, right?
Right, because our kids, you know, their brains are still growing and developing. You know, if you want to use an analogy of a deck of cards, as parents, you know, we got a full deck of cards. Our brain is fully developed. You know, everything's wired and it's done.
And even sometimes my brain isn't working.
It's still not working 100%, right?
right?
Especially if we don't get the sleep that we need or the rest or and we aren't eating well. And, stress can play a part as well. But so what we want to do is make sure that we are giving them that opportunity to shift those gears because their brain and to process it because they just don't shift gears as quickly as we do.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is I'm in the kitchen. I want my child to come to the dinner table. Step one, go to them, get that eye contact or get them to pause kind of what they're doing. Step two, give them the direction, make it simple. Hey, it's time to come to dinner table. And then step three is really getting them to repeat back and to make sure that they've heard. Right.
And the last step, which is probably the most important, is once you've given the direction, they've repeated it back to you, and they've heard them, they've heard you, is to give them time.
How much time are we talking about?
Well, when we, in our SNAP program, this is part of what we call effective directions.
Right.
And as a parent, we want to set our child up for success. And so it's our job to do that. And that's, giving them transition warning, getting an attention grabber, having them repeat it back, giving very simple, assertive directions, not ending it with, okay, like, is that okay with you?
Right.
Because it's not a suggestion, it's a command.
Right.
And the last step, once you've gone through all those, is to get what they recommend, what the SNAP clinical group recommends, is to give them 10 seconds to comply or to start moving in the right direction. Now, when you count to 10 on your hands,
longer than you
it
think,
feels like eternity. And what we recommend is that you step back and give them some space. Don't hover over them.
Right.
We are a lot taller than them and bigger, and I don't like someone hovering over me either. Right. So we want to make sure that we are giving them that space to transition, to shift gears from one activity to another. Usually doing something they want to doing something they may not want to do, or they may. But we want to give them time to process it. We had one parent who, after learning the effective directions, it was a game changer for her. She had to give her son about 15 seconds. He had ADHD, and so he processed a little slower. He needed a little bit more time. But when she backed up and didn't expect him to jump, like a robot, immediately like in 2 seconds, because when you think about how many times you can ask him to do something in 10 seconds, it can feel like 10 times, And so then you're getting upset, your child's getting upset. It's a lose-lose situation. You're getting emotional, they're getting emotional. You're just making your problem bigger. Right. So when you step back and give them that 10 seconds, it really, I think it's very, it's like grace because you're giving them an opportunity to shine for you and to show that, hey, I can listen and I heard you and I can do what you asked me to do. But if you expect them to jump, immediately, you're going to be disappointed and the child's going to be disappointed. It's just not realistic. I mean, even me, if I'm on the phone or I'm in the middle of typing an email and someone comes in my office and says, hey, Miles, I'm like, oh, wait, can you give me a moment? Let me finish this thought. I need to finish this email or, because I had it in my head. I needed time to finish. I can't just jump up and stop everything I was doing and just, in a snap. And
we can't even do it as adults.
Right. How can we expect our children who don't even have a fully developed brain? They don't have all their gray matter till they're 12, and then it takes another 12 to 13 years, and even longer for kids who are neurodivergent, for their brains to fully develop. So you're talking mid-20s, late 20s. And so they're dealing with a half deck of cards, right? They're not going to play the game as well. So we can't expect them to. We always say at the Family Resource Center, we want a parent from a place of control or calm. Easier said than done. We really need to learn to regulate our own emotions, and we need to learn to model what that looks like for our children, because we are our children's first teachers. They are learning from us how we respond to conflict, how we solve problems, how we deal with emotions, what we even think about emotions, like meta emotions, how we feel about emotions, right?
Yeah.
Are we, dismissing emotions? Are we disapproving of emotions that, are difficult or challenging, or are we accepting of those emotions? And so as parents, we want to make sure that we are, being that good role model. And if we need to take some deep breaths, I usually say, and we talk about this in our Triple P program when we're teaching about how to deal with the emotional routine with our teens, is to take 2 deep breaths.
Okay.
And that's usually that's going to take about 5 to 10 seconds, depending on how deep of a breath you need to take. That's what that's going to do, is it's actually going to lower your heart rate and send oxygen back to your brain so you can think.
Okay.
And because what happens is when we get upset, when we get triggered, our heart starts racing, and so literally the oxygen leaves our brain and goes to our heart.
Right.
And therefore we can't think as clearly. And if we're going to parent from a place of control, we need to be thinking clearly and not responding with a knee-jerk reaction or responding with emotions. It's okay to let our child know that we're disappointed in their behavior and to show that emotion. But, we get so many parents coming in that say, I want to stop yelling and screaming and threatening my kid. And, I don't feel good as a parent because I feel like all I do is, stop this, don't do this, shaking fingers. And, it's just not fun. That's,
right.
When I signed up for parenting, I wasn't expecting that,
Right.
I mean, it's part of it as far as the discipline, but when it seems like it's just a daily battle, that's no fun for anybody.
Right. You want to enjoy parenting. You want to enjoy your family life, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so let's talk a little bit more about, you mentioned emotions and even meta emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in FRC we talk about that iceberg, right?
Oh, yes.
What is that about?
I love this analogy. It's called the behavior iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think of an iceberg, let's say you're on a boat and you're on the water and you see this little tip of ice sticking out of the water. That's the tip of the iceberg, right? So if we think of behavior, that's what we see above the surface. Those are the symptoms, right? That's the whining, the crying, the tantrums, the eye rolling, the faciness, all the attitude, all,
right.
The hitting, the kicking, the screaming, those are the symptoms. Now, what we know below the surface is much bigger.
Right.
And so what's below the surface is what's driving those symptoms. It's what's driving the behavior. So it's the thoughts, it's the feelings, it's the perceptions. It's you're thinking, is the child feeling heard? Is the child feeling loved? Is the child, is there a need that's not being met? Is there, we talk about HALT, which stands for HALT, which stands for, are they hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Especially babies who can't talk. Right. We want to make sure all those needs are met first, so they develop trust that when there's a need they have, it will be met. And so what I like to say is, as a parent, we need to become like detectives. We need to put on our detective cap and get curious and look at, behavior. That's an opportunity to connect with our child.
Right.
There's something going on, and they don't have the skills or the tools, the brain development or the language to tell us what they need or that they can't handle it.
Right.
And so we see the behavior, the meltdown, the crying, the back talk, the slamming of the doors when they get older, I hate you, all those things. Mm-hmm. And so, if we can step back and look at it more objectively and say, hey, this is an opportunity for me to help my child learn about their feelings, acknowledge them, validate them, and honor them. Say, hey, all feelings and wishes are okay, but not all behaviors are okay. Right. And to really distinguish the difference, that's that's the crutch of emotion coaching that we teach, through the Gottman Institute at the Family Resource Center. But then we also need to set limits after that. We do talk about that too in positive discipline. But we want to make sure first that let's look what's driving that behavior. Let's go a little further upstream and find out, what's going on and get curious. Because a lot of times, if you solve that problem, then you don't have the behavior anymore. Then you're not dealing with the crying, the whining.
There's that ripple effect. Right.
Right. So when we think of the iceberg, just think, try to get curious and think about their needs, what happened right before the incident.
Right. What have they been experiencing all day, right?
Right. Maybe they got bullied at school. Maybe they didn't have a good night's sleep. Maybe their tummy hurts and they just don't know. A lot of children aren't self-aware, and they're not. What you'll see is a breakdown when they're hungry or thirsty or their tummy hurts or they're not feeling well. And so a lot of times I say, just like when our children are sick, we have a totally different approach with them.
Yeah, we're more empathetic then, aren't we?
Yeah, we're more nurturing. Yeah. We want to take care of them. We're more patient. And so...
because we understand where it's coming from.
Right. And so if we can get curious and find out exactly where this behavior is coming from and approach it in that way, we can keep our problems smaller too. Because if we have a child who's escalated, who's crying and screaming, we don't want to match that. We don't want to escalate ourselves and try to outdo them. Then we're all on the ceiling and we're all upset. And
problems aren't getting solved. No, they're people are just getting worse.
Right. Yeah. Or, chores aren't being done, homework's not getting finished because everyone's upset, and we just give up. We just give in. And we don't want to do that either. We don't want to be too harsh or too lax either. So it's finding that balance. It's finding that happy medium, which is the hard work.
That is the hard work.
There might be a little more work in the long run, but it's going to pay off.
Right.
You'll have less behaviors, less challenging, behaviors with your child if you put in that work on the front end.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we should take a break and give you all an opportunity to go into our Facebook page, go into our Instagram, send us a message on there. And, what behaviors are you kind of dealing with right now? What's the most challenging for you at the moment? And just give us a shout, let us know. And we're going to answer your questions live here on Bobo 89.1 FM. The Family Resource Center invite you to join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting, where we share practical and positive parenting information to support happy, healthy family life. We'll share how to handle day-to-day issues. We'll address common challenges with parenting, such as how to manage misbehavior, supporting our teens through growing up, managing co-parenting dynamics, and how to take care of ourselves and manage our own stressors. Family Resource Center, committed to building people, building families. Tune in Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. Find us at frc.gov.ky or call us on 949-0006. Submit your questions and concerns regarding parenting to us, and we'll share them on air. Join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting.
Do you want to be a star? Cayman's #1 community station, Bobo 89.1 FM, can help. Bobo 89.1 FM is your voice. If you want a platform to create your own radio show, Bobo is the station for you. We provide the time, support, coaching, and the radio station to make yourself heard. Is it a talk show, music show, self-help, a show for kids, faith, advice, politics, or news? It's your show. It's your voice. Get in contact with Chuck Taylor at ctaylor@dmsbroadcasting.ky or call 745-3375 to schedule an appointment today. And let your voice be heard on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's community station.
The Family Resource Center invite you to join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting, where we share practical and positive parenting information to support happy, healthy family life. We'll share how to handle day-to-day issues. We'll address common challenges with parenting, such as how to manage misbehavior, supporting our teens through growing up, managing co-parenting dynamics, and how to take care of ourselves and manage our own stressors. Family Resource Center, committed to building people, building families. Tune in nights 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. Find us at frc.gov.ky or call us on 949-0006. Submit your questions and concerns regarding parenting to us, and we'll share them on air. Join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting. All right, welcome back to Rethink Parenting on Bobo 89.1 FM. You're joined by the Family Resource Center team. My name is Anne-Marie, and I'm joined by my lovely colleague, Miles. And if you want any more information about the Family Resource Center and the services we provide, please give us a call on 949-0006 or email us at frc@gov.ky with your queries.
Yes.
And so, Miles, we took a break. I have a message here, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about getting calm and having more empathy. I'm struggling to get calm with my child. I'm easily triggered with them. Mm-hmm. What can I do?
Boy, that's a great question. And before I forget, I do want to say that all our programs, all our services are free. So if you are a parent out there struggling, you don't need to struggle by yourself. We have this wonderful resource in this community, and it's free. And as a certified parenting coach, you'd have to pay a lot of money, if out of pocket, if you did that privately. So take advantage of us. So back to your question, what I would like to say is that, again, we have to take care of ourselves. We can't pour from an empty cup. And so self-care is one of the cornerstones of positive parenting. Right. And we talk about that a lot in Triple P and in our positive discipline workshop. And that can look different for different people. Okay. It's not about being selfish. It's about survival. Yeah. And it's about, also being that role model, showing your child that, hey, I have to take care of myself.
Because value yourself.
Right. And I use the analogy of when we're traveling in an airplane with a child, and if we lose cabin pressure and the oxygen masks come down, what do the airline, I don't want to say stewardess, that's flight attendants say, right? They say, put the mask on yourself first, not your child.
And why is that?
Because if you don't put the mask on yourself and you're trying to put the mask on your child and then you pass out, then you're no good to yourself or your child. So you need to take care.
Great analogy.
Yes, you must take care of yourself first and, get enough rest, eat well, do some mindfulness or some kind of, something to fill your cup to replenish yourself. And I'm not saying hours and hours at the spa. It could be a 10-minute walk, reading a book, watching a Netflix series, not binging. But, it's all in moderation. But, we just want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Because if we're taking care of ourselves, not only are we modeling that for our children that they need to take care of themselves, but we're able to be calm. We're able to handle chaos a little bit better. When those days are, especially mornings before school, are just chaotic, can be. And so what we need to do is take a breath. Again, take those 2 deep breaths. Walk away. Go take a drink of water. If you're sitting down, stand up. Do something different. Don't engage. If you feel like you're going to say something that you might regret or can't take back, words are powerful. Our language is very powerful, and we need to teach, we'd like to teach our kids, that what we say is important, and we need to model that, Now, we're going to make mistakes as parents. That's inevitable. And it's so important that when we do mess up, that we do apologize, that we repair, and we teach our children how to do that, how to take accountability for our actions, not blame anyone else. I've had to do it many times. Hey, I'm sorry, I lost my cool. We don't speak to each other that way in this family. I'm sorry. And I don't say, I was just tired, or if you hadn't done this, or if you didn't say that. None of that.
Right, that's not a real apology.
No, you own it. Say, my bad. Right. We are responsible for our own behavior. We can't blame others for it. And children are no different. And so we need to model that. And so, empathy, again, is that, acknowledging and helping them find that feeling that they're experiencing. Because once you name it, it becomes less scary to the child. Right. And a lot of times the anxiety will go down. And oh, that's what this is. This is frustration. Or, oh, this is jealousy,
right.
Or this is fear, or this is sadness, or disappointment, or rejection. You know, all those difficult emotions. I don't like to say good or bad emotions because all emotions are okay.
Right.
It's just not all behaviors are okay. And, you know, emotions are temporary. They come and go. And helping our children learn to sit in those feelings and process them and learn how to regulate them will get them much further in life. All the research has shown that children with a higher EQ, which is the emotional intelligence, fare much better in life than children with a higher IQ. Because that's about relationships. It's about reading people. It's about self-regulation.
And
solving problems, right. And if you can't do those things, you're not going to do as well in your job. You're not going to do as well in relationships. You can be the smartest kid in the class and have a 4.0 and have the highest test scores, but if you can't relate to people, if you can't self-regulate your own emotions, then you're going to have a really hard time as an adult.
Right. And so I guess this listener, this parent, I mean, they can start with kind of checking in with themselves, making sure they're role modeling self-care, and checking in maybe what are they not giving themselves enough of.
Right.
Maybe they're just not sleeping well, and there's a few little changes there.
Absolutely. You know, we need to treat ourselves the way we would treat our best friend, you know, and talk to ourselves in that same way. And we need to be mindful, too, when we're around our children, what kind of statements we're saying about ourselves in front of our children.
Right.
You know, we don't want to say comments like, oh, I'm so stupid, or I just can't get anything right, or, you know, nothing goes my way, because they pick up on that and they'll mimic that. Right. They're like our little mirrors.
They are. And instead, we should kind of be validating ourselves and the effort we already are putting in.
Right. Like, this is hard, you know, but I can do it.
Right.
You know, this is temporary. This too shall pass. I know it's hard. You know, and it's not that we don't want to disapprove or dismiss the feelings. We want to honor them and validate them, and then help them problem solve. You know, well, what do you think you can do about it? You know, instead of saying, you know, if they seem upset, and maybe they responded to you in kind of a short, kind of curt way, instead of saying, don't you speak to me like that, you know, like, because it's disrespectful, say, hey, you sound upset. What's happened? What's going on? We'd like to stay away from why questions because that implies judgment. But there's a great anagram called TED, T-E-D. Tell me, explain to me, describe to me what happened. What's going on?
That's very disarming. Like, even just hearing you say that to me, I'm calm, even though it wasn't even, you know, I'm calm.
Like, tell me what happened. Tell me about it. You know, explain to me and describe to me. And, you know, TED, TED. And because we want to get our children talking and helping them talk through their emotions and learn to regulate those emotions, because they're going to have all of them, you know, and they need to learn how to handle those. Kids have to regulate their emotions all the time. They're outside playing on the playground, and then they have to come in from being excited and then sit down and, you know, focus and, you know, deregulate and come down with that energy level and then focus and pay attention. They're having to regulate that. That's
such a process.
Yes.
It takes time.
And that's just something they do every day.
Right.
Right? And so it's part of life. And so we want to make sure that, you know, if we're struggling, you know, with emotional regulation, you know, here at the Family Resource Center, we can help you with that. We can, you know, we can work with you one-on-one, you know, with individual parent coaching. And we can, you know, we have family programs too.
And so you're actually leading the Positive Discipline Workshop tomorrow night.
Yes, ma'am.
It's starting at 6 p.m. So is there any spots left? Can
we
persons sign up for it still?
Yes, it's not a drop-in. It is a closed group so that we have the same people it is an 8-week workshop. We'll meet once a week on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7:30. And we will be providing a light dinner, and it's free, you know, and you're getting some great parenting strategies and tips, and you know, hopefully going to give you some more parenting tools for that parenting toolbox, you know. Yeah. If anything, I would hope that parents, you know, if they're struggling, you know, it's okay. You know, I struggled as a parent, and I didn't have parent coaching. I didn't have the Family Resource Center, and I wish I did.
Yeah, it's
you know,
a game changer.
It really is, and I wish I knew now what I I wish I knew what I know now then.
Right.
I would have parented a little differently. But, you only know what you know.
Right.
And so, and if you don't have the tools, you don't have the tools. So come and get the tools.
Right. And so they can get in touch with us how?
They can give us a call at 949-0006. They could email us at frc@gov.ky. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, but we do need you to, not just to show up, because we do have, we order the food. We want to make sure we have enough food for everyone. And again, it's a free service. And so, hey, it's one night you don't have to cook or clean.
That's a good service. So when would you ideally like to hear by?
Tomorrow afternoon. We do have some slots available, and we don't want to turn anyone away, but we also want to make sure it's a good fit for you. Right. Maybe it may not be the best fit, and there might be something else we can offer you that would be a better fit at that time. So we want to make sure that your needs are met, and also the group needs are met as well.
Great. I mean, we've been talking about so much. I think you, like I said, you're a walking parenting encyclopedia. You've dropped so much knowledge this evening. What would you say might be a good starting point for the parent that's just tuned in tonight? This is all kind of brand new for them, everything that we've been talking about. And it can be a little overwhelming, right, to hear all this, and it's oh my God, where do I start?
I know.
How do I do this? What could be a good starting point? What could be a good parenting goal to just start with right now?
I think the first thing we really need to do is enjoy our children. Do something fun that the child wants to do. Not that you want to do, but something that the child enjoys. Because that's an opportunity to bond and connect with your child, especially if you've been having a hard time. You need to have fun and laugh with your child and have those moments of connection. I had to play so many video games, and I despise video games because my girls love to play video games. I think the one they liked the most was the Wii with the bowling and there was this SS Tricky. It was like a game, and I'm terrible at video games. And they would always beat me, and they would think it was so much fun, and they'd laugh, and and I just went along with it. But some of the best conversations or discussions we had was when we were playing.
Of course.
Because it's also, you're not face to face. It's not an interrogation. Right. Yeah, and you're having fun, and they loosen up, and they tend to be more open. And then you also have something to talk about, because if it's important to my child, it's important to me.
It should
and
be,
and then it's something we can discuss, and it's a conversation starter. And it makes them feel valued, she cares about what I like.
Right.
My opinion matters. I have a voice in this house. I'm heard.
And so they're going to connect more with
right.
you and maybe let you into their world a little more, right?
Absolutely. So, and it also shows that I can be vulnerable, which means they can be vulnerable. That I don't have to be perfect. I'm not good at everything, and they don't have to be good at everything. Right. We all have challenges. We all have strengths, and that's what makes us unique and beautifully different. If we're all the same, that'd be really boring.
Absolutely.
And so we want to embrace those differences and focus on our children's strengths. And so enjoy your child and laugh with them. Go do something. Yeah, especially as teenagers. Teens need us more now than ever.
Right.
And having grown 3 teenagers into successful adults, I would like to say, those were some of the most tough years. It's I'd take a 2-year-old any day over a teenager. But it was also the most rewarding.
Yeah. And it's tough on the teen, not just the parent,
because
they're going through so much.
Oh, they're going through so many changes hormonally. Their brains, it's the worst enemy. They're taking risks. They are trying to impress their peers. They're trying to find their own identity,
right?
And there's just so much going on, new feelings they're experiencing, and their bodies are changing. And you couldn't pay me enough money to be a teenager again.
I know, I didn't enjoy it.
I did not either. And so we need to have empathy. We need to put ourselves back into our children's shoes. Remember what it was like to be a child. Remember what it was like to be a teenager. Now, granted, today's very different. We didn't have all the distractions. The days of playing alone at night, till the street lights came on and drinking out of the garden hose are over, right? But they have a lot more distractions. There's all this technology. There's a lot more there's different dangers, that we have the virtual dangers, versus the neighborhood. It's a virtual neighborhood now, not just the community neighborhood that we have to worry about. So we have a lot of different challenges that we didn't face growing up. So it's hard to parent. And, and at the Family Resource Center, we can help you with, keeping your child safe. We had a whole program on the digitally distracted child, and we have a lot of resources to help parents, protect their child, with some, there's so many wonderful apps out there so that you can monitor your child and keep them safe on the internet and keep them away from those predators, away from material that's not age appropriate, that's, dangerous to them. And just like you would ask your child, where are you going? What are you going to do? Who are you going to be with? You need to ask those same questions when they're online. Where are you going? What sites are you going to? Who are you interacting with? And what are you doing? And to look at those chats and to see, it is,
protecting.
Yeah, you want to give them some privacy, but at the same time, they need to understand that, your role and your responsibility as a parent is to safeguard them and to guide them. And if we're not providing that supervision, that monitoring, and that guidance, then as parents, we're not doing our job. And sometimes kids don't want to hear that. They're like, well, it's my privacy. You can't look at my chat. Like, well, I pay electricity to charge the phone, and, this is just an expectation, but you need to do that ahead of time.
Right.
It's going to be much harder after the fact.
Yeah.
You need to set those parameters beforehand, but a lot of times we don't, and so it's going to be a little bit harder, but we can help you navigate through that process so that you don't get too much pushback, especially with teenagers, because it's harder to have something and then have it taken away.
Right.
Especially if there haven't been limits set on screen time, or there haven't been limits set on how much, how late they stay up and those kind of things.
Right.
It's going to be an adjustment for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have a conversation, a collaborative discussion
Absolutely.
with your child about
Yes.
the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And as they grow up, those rules change. So it might start as, the rule of this house is using kind language and keeping your hands to yourself.
Right.
But as you're a teenager, it might be avoiding certain sites and those sort of things. So the rules change, don't they?
Yeah, and that's where, at work we have meetings all the time to discuss problems, when we have something we want to do. And a family shouldn't be any different. We need to have family meetings, and they need to be collaborative. I mean, you can have your 3-year-old, help out too. You can have someone take notes. Someone can bring the drinks. Someone can, be the timer. Give people jobs and make it fun, and have ice cream or popcorn afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
Don't make it a drag.
Yeah.
But everyone's a part of it, and the rules apply to everyone.
Right.
So, and we like to put the rules in positive, not negative. Not, when you go to
stop running.
Right.
Instead, we walk.
Right. So, I don't know about you, but like when I go to a public pool and it says no running, no running, no jumping,
Makes
no diving, no splashing, and well, not only does it make you want to do it, but you're like, well, what can I do instead?
Yeah.
So we want to tell, and with children, we need to let them know that we don't.
Right.
If we don't say, stop running, you need to walk. Well,
they don't know.
They don't know. So we can't assume that they know.
We can't just say stop and don't do this. We need to tell them the behavior they should be doing.
Right. We need to be very clear on what we expect.
Right.
So instead of saying stop bouncing that ball, we need to say pick up the ball and take it outside.
Right.
That's very clear.
Right. And that's kind of like start language.
Yes.
What you should do instead of what you shouldn't do.
Exactly. And so we teach our parents how to use start language versus stop language. And it's much more effective. And we teach our parents how to use thinking words, not fighting words, like the when then.
Right.
Which is one of my favorite tools. And even my girls still talk about it. They're like, I remember when you started using that. But the way it works is it sets parameters. So the when is I'll give you an example. When you finish your homework, then you can go outside and play. So the when is the expectation, that I expect you to do your homework. The then is something that the child wants.
Right.
But what it does is it gives a child the sense of power and control, like, well, I can do it when I want to. But I won't get to do what I want to until I do it.
Right.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And as a parent, sometimes we say you have to give a little control to gain control. It's we don't want to quote, control our children, but we want them to feel valued and that they can make their own decisions, as long as they're age appropriate and within certain parameters.
Yeah.
And of course it has to be age appropriate, because you're not going to say that to, a 5-year-old.
Right.
Maybe a high schooler. You can say, hey, when you get your homework done, then, I can take you to Kamada Bay.
Right.
That
Right.
kind of thing. It's not if then, because those are fighting words, but when then.
When then.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's going to encourage compliance, like you said, because they have a little bit of a choice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But there is that setting of expectation.
Right.
When
so
you
you're
do
limit
this,
setting.
then you get that.
Mm-hmm. But you're also, giving the child something they want too. So
Right.
it's a win-win. You're getting what you want, they're getting what they want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's just so much to think about, isn't there?
I
with
know.
being a
I mean,
parent?
parenting is just a journey. We learn, as a parent, I've learned so much from my children. We tend to parent the way we were parented unless we learn something different. And we can't expect to do something different if we don't know what to do differently.
Right.
And so that's where the tools that we teach in positive discipline, can really give you some options and help build your confidence in knowing how to handle those challenging behaviors and those challenging emotions, with confidence while staying calm,
Right. Well, with confidence, you're going to be calmer, because then you're going to know what to do. You're going to know how to handle this particular situation.
Mm-hmm. You're not just going to do a knee-jerk reaction. You're going to know, okay, this is what I need to do. And the first thing might be to take 2 deep breaths.
Yeah. Just breathe.
Just breathe.
Right.
2 deep breaths, really nice is really going to calm you down. But you also need to calm your brain down too. And if you're saying things like, oh my God, I just want to wring his neck, or, I didn't sign up for this, I'm done, I can't handle this, that's not going to make you feel better.
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help. So we also
follow through on something not so good.
Right. So we also want to challenge those thoughts that we may have with some thoughts that might, give us hope, like, this is hard, but I can do it, or this too shall pass. Just finding something that works for you in that moment to help, after taking some deep breaths and maybe walking away for a few moments and, kind of coaxing yourself back.
Yeah, because we think we have to act then. We have to parent immediately, but we don't.
No. And sometimes, we need to delay it so that, and that's okay. That shows your child that, hey, I'm really upset right now and I need to calm down before I address this.
Right. So they see the value in taking a minute and kind of regulating those emotions.
Mm-hmm. Because if our children see us using power and control and force to solve problems, then they're going to do the same, right? And so we want to be careful what messages are we sending our children as we parent them. Because children easily see the contradictions. If we say one thing
and do another. Right.
And
we need to practice what we preach.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And like I said, it's easier said than done. And
for sure.
And we're going to mess up. And when we do, we own it. We apologize, and we're teaching our children how to do that. And that's so valuable.
Yeah. I think too, even beyond the apology, is saying what we hope to do differently.
Yes.
That's not just a message for our child, but for ourselves.
Yeah.
I do it. When I apologize, I let my child know what I should have done instead and what I'm going to do differently. More for myself, so I know, okay, stop that. Let me change that a little bit.
We're all human.
Shift gears.
Some days we're more tired than others, more stressed than others. We come home and we're tired, and now we have to cook dinner, and there's homework, and then there's baths, and
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it can be, and you just feel like you just never get a break. So you need to make that break for yourself.
We do, and just slow down and ease up with the expectations on ourselves and on our children.
Sometimes that laundry can wait, or those dishes can wait. If you need a moment for yourself, you've earned it.
Yeah,
and you'll feel better for it. And I think too, as a parent, just remembering, that these kids, we're the most important person in that child's life. We're the biggest agent of change for that child. And if we want to see change in our children's behavior, it starts with us.
Right.
There's a great formula that Kai Graham teaches in the Teen Toolbox, which is one of my favorite books and one of my favorite parent coaches for teens. And it's called E plus R equals O.
Okay.
And E is the event,
Okay.
plus your response equals the outcome. And so of that formula, what can we control?
Your response, the way you respond.
We
to
can't
something.
control another human being or a person. The event's already happened. But how we respond to it is going to influence the outcome. So if we have a negative response, if we yell and scream and threaten, we tend to have a negative outcome. If we have a positive response, we stay calm, we have empathy, we ask questions, we get curious, and we tend to have a more positive outcome. It won't guarantee the outcome, but even if...
It'll influence it.
It will influence it. And even at the end of the day, if it's not the outcome we want, we can still feel good about how we responded as a parent. Like, I didn't lose it. I kept my cool. I stayed in control.
Right.
Because, again, we always want to parent from a place of control. But our own emotions, right? We want to be able to demonstrate that to our children and show what that looks like.
Right.
You know?
And thank you so much, Miles, for
It's
sharing
been my
so
pleasure.
much with us tonight. I can imagine parents listening tonight, they've learned so much.
I hope so. It's
And-
just a nugget.
Yeah,
or two.
right? It's just the tip of the iceberg,
The tip of the
right?
iceberg, yes.
And so for parents that want to learn more and get more support, just finish off with what can they do there?
They can please give us a call at 949-0006. We're open 8:30 to 5. Preferably, we'd like for you to give us a call in the morning or email us at frc@gov.ky. Say, hey, I'd like to sign up for the positive discipline class or workshop, and we need to have a conversation. There's some paperwork that needs to be signed so that you can access our services, which are all free. And
Or they can even just get individual support. They don't
yes,
necessarily need to join
some
a group.
people, group may not be for you, and that's
Right.
okay. But we do offer individual parent coaching. Like I said earlier, I'm a certified parenting coach. I've been a parent for 29 years. I've learned a lot. I have a lot of empathy for all you parents out there, and I've walked that journey. I'm still walking it. It's just the roles change.
And we have a team of parent facilitators,
yes.
very similar
Very
to Miss
skilled
Miles.
and very, very able parent facilitators to help you out.
All right. So thank you for joining us tonight on Rethink Parenting.
Yes.
We are the Family Resource Center team. It's me, Anne Marie, and we're joined by Miss Miles this evening. Thank you so much for joining us, for listening. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. Thank you so much.
Thank you and good night.
The Family Resource Center invite you to join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting, where we share practical and positive parenting information to support happy, healthy family life. We'll share how to handle day-to-day issues. We'll address common challenges with parenting, such as how to manage misbehavior, supporting our teens through growing up, managing co-parenting dynamics, and how to take care of ourselves and manage our own stressors. Family Resource Center, committed to building people, building families. Tune in Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. Find us at frc.gov.ky or call us on 949-0000. The Family Resource Center invite you to join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting, where we share practical and positive parenting information to support happy, healthy family life. We'll share how to handle day-to-day issues. We'll address common challenges with parenting, such as how to manage misbehavior, supporting our teens through growing up, managing co-parenting dynamics, and how to take care of ourselves and manage our own stressors. Family Resource Center, committed to building people, building families. Tune in Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. on Bobo 89.1 FM. Find us at frc.gov.ky or call us on 949-0006. Submit your questions and concerns regarding parenting to us, and we'll share them on air. Join us Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. for our weekly show called Rethink Parenting.
Bobo. Ting, ting, ting. Ring, ting, ting. Everybody hear this ting.
Hello, this is Leno on Bobo FM with a new Native Vibe show. Tune in on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock for a media segment